Hello everyone, Finger Trap Master here. We are back with more Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2. So in the last part, Scotty or Rory, I guess I'll call him Rory, but got eaten by giant worm. So yeah, we gotta go inside the worm's stomach like a completely educated person. So I did a few things off screen. Grinded a bit. Everybody's around level, is between level 6 and 9. One great way to level up is metal slimes. They're like really hard to kill, but they don't have much health. They got insanely high defense, and they have a tendency to run away. If you kill one of those, it's about 80 EXP points, and depending on the area you're in, for more EXP they'll give. So at one point they start giving about 1,000 EXP points, so you're gonna want to kill them. I'd recommend having a swarm trooper for that because they hit multiple times, and you have a high chance of missing against metal slimes. And they're a lot more common in this game, and that maze at the top, they appear here at night, it seems. You see these tiny little bugs? These are actually monsters. These are hell hornets. I would highly recommend you scout one. Not only are they kind of powerful, but they can be synthesized with my hand to make a monster I love. So we are going to want to do that. Just make sure that they're the opposite of the muddy hand. And you're probably wondering, well, what do I mean by that? Well, a monster will have a plus or a minus next to its name. And if two monsters have different symbols next to their name, then it means they can be synthesized together. Now, a green one is neutral, which is what I got, and that can be synthesized with anything else except for another green monster. So, I got pretty lucky there. Also, those Hell Hornets are a great source of EXP. They give about 8 EXP apiece, and they're about as difficult to kill as the other enemies here. In fact, I think they're actually easier. So I would grind off of those guys a bit because we're about to have a boss fight up ahead. So, yeah, let's just climb up here. And we're actually almost to the boss. So, actually, I should have fought that thing. I will have leveled up right before the boss. Whatever. So, let's heal on up at this pillar thingy. Hey, Hell Hornet, are you still there? Screw it. Alright, so I skip these draggies, and we're about to hit a checkpoint. These usually come when you're at the end of the area, but we're about to get an ability that whenever you see a diamond, there's one of these in each area. And we're going to get an ability that lets us teleport to these if we're in the area. They're called zip portals. That right there is a boss troll. Do not fight it. Think of it as a more threatening Wormonger. It's 2 slots big, but instead of mercifully just spitting you back at the beginning of the area, it will kill your team, sending you back to the Albatross. So, yeah, whenever you see a blue dot on the map, it means that there's a new ability you can get. And there aren't that many in the game, but if you see one, be sure to grab it. I will show them all. And there's the Wormonger, where the first boss is basically located. Yes, inside the Wormonger. We're not going to fight the Wormonger because he would murder us. We will be able to fight him afterwards, but I wouldn't recommend doing it for a while. So, and if you do, you get a snakeskin whip. And I talked about whips in this game in the second episode, third episode maybe. And what they do is they boost your attack very slightly, but all your normal attacks hit all enemies. So they can be pretty useful for when you don't have any good spells. So here's Wormonger, and we're just going to again be really smart and just kind of look at its pointy teeth and say, hey, I can slip in through there. And its tongue looks like something out of Minecraft. So we're just gonna casually walk on in, and here we are. It's purple inside. I don't know why I just said purple in a ridiculous manner. For some reason, there's my hands in here, and lips I kind of understand. There's these creepy eyes, but there's nothing in here, since you can only go in here once. Except for a blue treasure chest, and I have no idea what's in it. It should be a red one, since you can only go in here once. A Sea of Defense. Seeds boost your stats, but save them for good monsters, not your current monsters. If I were you, I'd save right before going here, but just in case anything happens in this part, then, you know, we're going to have to start over the part. So, we're just gonna, not save, but you should, because as soon as you go up to Roy or Scotty, we are going to fight a boss. He has a strange melody, and say hello to the first boss. The Hyper Hydra. This thing is not a literal Hydra. Actually, it technically is. For those who don't know, an actual Hydra is like this biological thing. I have no idea why they call it a Hydra. I think mythology came first, so yeah. Hyper Hydra here. He is an undead monster. To make one, it's Fly Guy plus almost anything. I will put how to make a Fly Guy in the description, but you can do Fly Guy plus Stump Jump, that'll make him. He is D rank, and he hits you about 3 times. He's a pretty good monster, actually. I'd recommend you get one, but off-screen, Bachelor got a move called Undead Undoer. Does extra damage to the undead. We are going to want to use that against him. While Stumpy and all the others just fight. 20 damage. That's pretty good for our point because he has higher defense than other monsters. So Zam's gonna like do quite a bit of damage, but just heal on up. This is why we get all those medical herbs mostly for him. Alright, so you're just gonna really want to wail on him and just heal up anything he does to you. He's a pretty easy boss. I'd recommend being like around level 7-ish maybe when you fight him, and Undead Undoer missed, which makes me sad. But I kind of wish we got Rabble Rouser, that would have been just awesome. This is his attack. It does about 15 damage overall. So it packs quite a wall up for this point, since everything's been doing about 2 to 5 damage to us. And you can use an item, but you can only use one item a turn. And using an item will not take up any of your monster's turns. So keep that in mind. And do Undead Undoer. And just go on and on and on. Again, this is really a pre-mindless boss fight. We're not going to really get to actually thinking in this game until we're at about the 3rd area, I'd say. But you can heal off anything he does to you, as long as you have enough herbs, so really this fight should not be a problem whatsoever, even if you're a bit low leveled. But having Undead Undoer is great help for making this fight go faster. And so, again, this is why I say you should get a Draki, because they're probably one of the best monsters you can get. And for those who don't know, you cannot scout bosses. I'm just saying that. You cannot. So don't ask why I'm like not trying to scout them and get like a really awesome monster immediately. You have to synthesize bosses, at least most bosses. Some bosses you can scout. Wow, my voice just messed up, and he's dead. 170 XP. But some bosses you can scout, but that's not until like after you beat the game. And he drops an antidotal herb, pretty useless. And Batshua grows to level 10, so he can be synthesized. And Stumpy and Buddy are now 7 and 8. Alright, so we are just going to... Oh, and Stumpy got 8 skill points. Good. Since Stumpy, we're not going to really be using him much longer. We're just going to boost his stats, because for those who don't know, this isn't told, but you can just kind of figure it out. When you synthesize monsters together, the stats get passed down, so you shouldn't synthesize a monster as soon as possible. You should actually make it good before you synthesize it. And now for harming the Hyper Hydra's, not the Hyper Hydra, for Wormonger's internal anatomy, we are spat out unceremoniously. Instead of just laying out all rage on us like it should, or dying, because I thought it would die here. But he just spits up the coin. And then he's just gonna leave. Like, derp, derp, grin, go away. And probably all the monsters are freaking out because they're not used to the Wormonger coming out at night. Sorry, monsters. Sucks to be you. And we get this thing that's like super important to the plot. And it's an amazing plot, the mysterious metal. And so, he's, of course, A-okay. He hasn't been digested or anything. He doesn't know he was inside a worm, but, yeah. He knows you saved his life, though. And he says, you're a real Monster Scout now. And then he's gonna come in and be like, oh my god, you're safe. That's, like, good. And oh my god, you got this awesome medal. And you should defend it with your life because it's an important piece of mythology and stuff. And so, instead of keeping this myself, I'm just gonna give it to you because you're obviously going to go adventuring. And so this medal is supposed to be granted. Do you know what this means? This is the home of a legendary Monster Scout. And no, it's not your main character from the first game. Just to get rid of all theories. And so he's just like, oh, okay, let's head back to the ship. And he's like, defend it with your life. I've said that before. And, yeah. And I guess it's like there's this super awesome Monster Scout person. Even though it's not really a Monster Scout, you find out later in the game it's like an actual monster. But now we can go to Doubtback and use Zoom there. Alright, so head back to the ship. And, yeah. So here we are, and now the bank and vending machine are working. Roy, fix them. So, the bank you can store your money in, self-explanatory, because whenever you die, well, all your monsters die, then you lose, like, about half your gold you have on you. Now, don't worry, when I say a monster dies, it doesn't mean that it goes away forever, it just dies. So, and you can revive it, of course. So, the vending machine is the only vending machine in the game, and it's got really horrible items. It's got medical herb, antidote herb. Out of it, it's selling a copper sword, which I'd recommend you get. Stone and some weapons, but you're gonna want the copper sword, or because most monsters can't equip that. You might want the leather whip, but no, not really. It's again copper sword for the win. So, now how do you get this vending machine to actually be useful? Well, you see this little thingy right here? This little, I don't know if you can see it, but, well, yeah, you can. It's a box with a screwdriver on it, well, a screw on it. You will get machine parts throughout the game, and the more machine parts you put in, the better the items are in the box, the vending machine. And since we defeated a boss and all that, I'm going to call this part short. And the next part, we will go explore the mountains known as Doubtback. So I will make it appear on my map. And then I will end this part. And yeah, this is Doubtback. So we will go there in the next part. Bye-bye.